And also give a big welcome to our YouTube guest at dtitrader.com/YouTube. We're live performing over there. Let me just go ahead and click in and say hello to our YouTube guest. Let's see, get a little typing going on. All right, so YouTube up and running. And as always, when you go to YouTube, join Tom Busby's free YouTube, dtitrader.com/YouTube. Best way to support what we do here is to like and subscribe. So make sure you click those buttons. Tom, we got at least one like. I think we got a few more coming in. So it looks like we got people joining over and listening in on that YouTube side. Feel free to jump in and join us there. We'll have a little side chat as the
Yeah,
presentation
Chuck, have you
continues to go.
noticed it increasing since we started doing this little exercise?
Uh yeah, we have and got B Jones in there right now. So the more people that jump over, give us a like and uh participate in the chat makes it all great. Of course, for those of you on YouTube and those of you here in Zoom, want to let you know we will be having a market discussion today. So there is a very high degree of risk involved in trading. You and you alone will be responsible for all the decisions that you make in the market. Make sure you consider risk. That should be probably a primary part of what you're looking at when you're thinking about trading. Uh, as B. Jones says, don't miss the training provided. We got a lot of it going on today. Of course, past performance not indicative of future results. And let's go in and look at the news. Tom, I've taken Iran off of the list. Obviously, there's still a lot going on there. We're going to keep an eye on crude, which opened at 98.06 today, overnight high of 99.17. Looking at crude prices right now, they are coming down. Last traded 95.88. So we've got a little bit of corrective movement there. We'll see how long it can last. Now, this is an important thing, and I want to remind everybody about this. Those of us who trade futures are probably pretty aware. I know Tom's aware of this, but it's the last day with the March contract as lead for the DAX and the Euros and the Euro stocks, ESX, DAX, ESX. Those are the European futures markets. They expire Friday morning, as do the U.S. futures. So this is kind of a big day on the futures side. Everybody thinks of triple witching, quadruple witching as being tomorrow, but a lot of that gets set up today on the futures side. Of course, on the options side with stocks, everything's going to be what end of day tomorrow, unless, of course, options on futures are going to have to go out a little bit early because those futures contracts expire. So there's some events occurring, haggling, if you will, a little setup. Uh, Last night we had Micron earnings, so that was a big deal. MU is the symbol, and I know that Tom, you were looking at that. A few things going on there. I know you're going to talk about that a little bit later. Key levels in the market. These have been
Well,
out
hold
here
it,
for a
Chuck. Did
while.
I give a buy price inside of TNT this morning? Why don't you cover that? Don't just gloss over somebody that just made people a lot of money, you know?
Well, looking into Micron this morning, let's see if we go back to the Magic 5 for this morning. Let me go ahead and scroll back, take a look at that. 445.55
How high
for
did it go?
Micron. And, well, hang on one second, Tom.
Gotta get prepared if you're gonna be with me, Chucky boy.
Yeah, I'm prepared to do an intro. You're changing the
I'm
script
gonna
on
throw some
me.
curveballs. You know I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, we got live changing of scripts going on. Let's see. Micron currently 448.25, and it looks like right very early this morning they made it up to 461.73.
Okay,
Went
so
down a little bit, climbed back
461.
up.
Let's try to cover when you do something where you make $15. That's $1,500. Uh, Folks, you don't have to put 40,000 up to take that trade. You put 1,000 up, you're going to be better off. But I think that the Magic Five is so successful. I got a special announcement for TNT. Uh, when we get to that. But anyway, I wanted to point that out because I feel like I've done my job if I hand somebody $1,500 in the morning.
Yeah, definitely. And I know when we get to the FTD stocks, we're going to take a closer look at Micron as well as other stocks that were in the Magic Five this morning. It was Micron, it was QQQ, both long and short, giving you both sets of numbers there. Google and one of Tom's favorites, Palantir. So yeah, we got a lot going on there. Now, key levels today, the month open, we're a bit below that. The FTD low, we're a bit below that. And then throw in, not on this slide, but the weekly open here, which is for the S&P 6659.75. Market tried to climb up to it a little bit earlier, didn't quite make it, but might be trying to climb again. It's getting up there. I think Tom, I just saw 6658 as the high of the current half-hour bar. So
It's still a little shy of the pivot I gave, but I think it's if crude can take out, I'd say 95 and a half or go lower, it's sort of a chain reaction. Then they buy the E-mini, But you got to keep crude front and center because that's sort of controlling the action. And like you taking Iran off, looking at crude, you sort of know what's going on there because it's telling the story, isn't it? I mean, if you look at it, $96 a barrel, which I keep telling people, this is going to be one of the trades of the year, but you got to nibble at it right now because it's sure not ready. There's a lot more, back and forth you got to go with right now. That's all I'm
yeah,
saying.
I think the primary reason I took it off is you have the geopolitical, which is Iran, but you have the economic, the things affecting the market, which is crude, and that, of course, is a divergent from Iran. But that's the way we, as futures traders, track the situation. So focusing on crude takes the political, the geopolitical out of it, and let's look at the economics and see how things are preparing. Because as a trader, that's what you have to do, Tom. And let me get your opinion on this because everybody has a political opinion, good, bad, indifferent, right? We all know that. But markets tell a story, and if you're not willing to listen to the story of the market, you put yourself at a disfavor. So when we focus on crude, we're focusing on the market story that kind of is letting us know what some of the events are. Because listen, uh, as a trader, you can you have to divorce yourself from not necessarily the real world, but you got to divorce yourself from those debates and opinions and just focus in on how the market's reacting. Now, you've been doing this a number of years, and I know you're very good at that, but what would you suggest to anybody who's new in the markets and has political leanings one way or the other? Like, I always look at it and I say, just look at what the market's showing you. It is the final arbiter.
I agree with that statement 100% because everybody's got biases. I got mine. But I will tell you that these numbers tell you the story. And, depending on what time frame you're looking at, too. Okay. And, but, Sean, I know you're new. Let me teach you something. Okay. He says nobody gets out at the high, but being up on a stock in a market like this is quite, that is a Houdini act to find a stock out of this and be up. That ought to be worth staying in innovation. This market is really a little sick right now overall. But here's what you could do, Sean, just to teach you something. You got to know where the average true range is for MU. It's 25 points. And if you look at the low today, it would tell you above about 450, you're getting to a stage. And then you go look at the roadmap, and the roadmap has a break about 450. So you might not have got 460, but you sure would have got 450 if you had those two ingredients in your analysis. And that might help you in the future when you do a trade like that. So I hope that helps. And we got somebody that really disagrees with me on my assessment of crude. He's looking at inventories. I think I think inventories are important, and I don't want to disregard it. But what's more important to me is what's really important to me is the reference bars for entries and exits during the day. So that I sort of look at those reference bars and stuff, and that sort of helps me stay on the right side of things and helps me get non-biased. Okay, but I like the fact that you are looking at inventory. Uh, but in the near term, I would watch the price action.
Yeah, the one thing that we've always stressed here at DTI, and I've been stressing it with Tom for the past, I don't know, about 30 years, Tom, price is king. It beats every other sentiment out there. Price tells you what you need to know. So,
Yeah, classic. Because when you sit here in a position, your bias says, "Oh, I want to be long this," right? Everybody's got that thought, right?
mhm.
But when the numbers tell you a different story, you have to take action. We're going to talk about that today because I think everybody knows I'm very bullish on silver. I'm very bullish on gold. I'm just not bullish when I see the price action I'm seeing right now, or in both. And so you got to be a little careful when you get a market that you are biased in to look at the numbers. And we'll talk about that when we get to that section. That's my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for that, Tom. A great little discussion this morning. I think it really informs us on what we're going through. And now let's get to the full train and trade presentation. Of course, we're going to be doing this Monday through Friday, which means today and tomorrow of this week, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern. Hope you guys are able to join us for that little chit chat that Tom and I just had. We'll have a similar one tomorrow as we look at the developing events in the market and see what we can find out about them. Now, reminder that all trades in train and trade, when we get to the part where we're talking about some trading opportunities here, those will be tracked at dtitrader.com slash TNT. Now, if you want a little bit more information about how we're looking at things and some of the tools that we're going to use, make sure you join the new Options Education resource, Options EDU by DTI. Go to dtitrader.com slash options edu. This is a free resource. Jump in, take advantage of it, learn what you can. We certainly want to give you as much education as we can as we go through this process. In fact, we have even more resources. Tom's first book, Winning the Day Trading Game, is available through this link here. Click in, listen in. That should be an audio link. Sit
One of the
back
things I
and
want to highlight off the research, that white paper booklet, Jonathan did an unbelievable job. We update it from time and time when we get questions from you. Trying to help you, and that's what we do. That's what we do.
yeah, and those white papers, basically, that's going to be specific topics. So if there's something you're really interested in, go and check if it's there. If it's not, let us know. We'll see if we can make one for you. And of course, the YouTube page. We got the YouTube crowd checking in here. I see a couple things. Stan letting me know my microphone's a little bit hot. I think I'm just a little bit excited about today, but we'll see how that goes. We got a few people in there, and I've already said hello to everyone. But if you guys want to type in there, let us know you're there. You get earned points right now. B. Jones at the top of the list. Wendy's gonna try and steal that top slot back at some point, I get a feeling. Let's see. We've got important terms to know. There's going to be a lot of things that we talk about in terms of the market, Tom, that if it sounds a little bit weird or it's something you haven't heard before because you're new to trading, this is a good resource. Get some definitions on that side. Tom's penalty tape is whenever we get a little bit ahead of our skis, got to bring it back, stay centered, and sometimes that tape, that presentation he did, is a good way to remind yourselves to stay on the beaten path. Don't get ahead of your skis. All those little things. We don't want to jump the shark. We want to be focused on how to trade from a basic standpoint. And we certainly do kind of push on that basic standpoint, but every now and then you push a little bit too far. You got to bring yourself back, and this is a good reminder. We did mention Options EDU at DTI, and then Tom's BNN interview, kind of a good look into what's going on that front. And I think we're going to have Jonathan come in here and talk about the FTD stock. So let me get you on that page. And Jonathan, how are you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm doing good. Let me update this spreadsheet. I updated it this morning.
Okay, do you want to take over projection or should I just go straight to the spreadsheet?
Yeah, Chuck, I can take over. Hang on just a second. I'll do that. Sorry about that. Share screen. Okay. Now I'm getting this updated. If you're brand new today, of course, we welcome you in. What you're looking at here, let me share the spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet we call the first 3 days, the first three trade days of every single month, where we take the highest high and the lowest low from those 3 days, which forms a great frame to trade from. On the S&P futures, it's 69.11 for the high, 67.18 for the low. And if you go back and track today's this month, you'll find that the S&P has yet to open above the high. Same thing for last month. And when that's the case, when it can't trend higher, many times it goes lower, and we've seen that. And so we use this spreadsheet to try to stay on the right side of the market when we're thinking bigger picture. All right, if the S&P can't get above the 3-day high, not to mention that it can't get above its month open even, then we shouldn't be trying to place a lot of long bullish trades. And Tom has done a very good job of doing that, keeping you out of the market for the most part to the long side. All right. So that's what we do with this spreadsheet. You can see here, if you just take the top 7, 8 rows or so, you can see a lot of red on the equity side. S&P is, and that says short because the current price is below the 3-day low. Interestingly, the NASDAQ is not below the 3-day low. And two of those stocks, Tom mentioned them earlier, that are holding up fairly well are Palantir and Nvidia. So it's not just a full-on sell on the NASDAQ stocks. And this spreadsheet does a pretty good job of capturing that, in our opinion. The Dow is short, crude oil is bullish above the 3-day high. Gold, silver, and bonds are below their 3-day low. That's why they're short. And Bitcoin is in between. As we scroll down through this, because the S&P and the Dow are short, and the NASDAQ is certainly closer to the FTD low than FTD high, you're going to see a lot of shorts on this list. All right. These are just stocks of interest to us. There's 3 longs: Micron, STX, and WDC. So kind of a theme there. Then you got much more shorts. What's this long down
John,
here?
we had a trade on General Motors short, didn't we? What happened there?
You did have a trade, and we were able to book a profit on that this morning. So nice trade. Great trade. Thanks, Wendy. Yeah, I said slides and posted the link to the spreadsheet. Let me actually post a link to the slides here in just a minute, but I will post a spreadsheet once again. If you've never seen this spreadsheet, we recommend that you bookmark it. You can click the star at the top right of your browser, at least on Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge. There's some other browsers where the bookmark symbol's over here to the left, somewhere. If you use a browser like that, you probably are aware of what the bookmark is, but just find the way to bookmark it and you'll be able to save everything. Someone's asking about Airbnb, so there it is down at the bottom. And Chuck just posted the real slides, the actual slide deck. So thanks, Chuck. All right. Now, FTDHH, Joanne, stands for first 3 days highest high. First 3 days high. All right. If you see HH on like our roadmap software, that stands for highest high during the first 3 days. And LL on the roadmap software would stand for first 3 days lowest low. So I've got it marked here on the spreadsheet as first 3 days high, first 3 days low. All right, given where the market is for this month, when we start a new month, it becomes very, very important to monitor this 3 day high, especially after a month like this or after the 2 months we've had, February, March. So keep this spreadsheet. The link won't change at all, will never change. I'll just update it for the months as we, get there for each month coming up for the rest of the year. All right, let's move on from this. We talk about this every day, so everybody's pretty clear, at least if you've been here every day, about our stance on the market. Hey, Tom, I suppose I'll hand it back over to you, but I'm here to help out as needed.
Yeah, I told Jonathan, I said, we got a lot of positive feedback of the chart Jonathan did with the reference bars. And I thought rather than just give you the numbers today, we'd tie it into charts to sort of analyze the seven systems, see if that wouldn't be something we could do. So the first thing you do starting today, you want to go to
This is just a standalone snapshot showcasing the value of the reference bars visually, and there's a link there to read the white paper on the reference bars. All right.
Okay.
I'll repost that. And we're going to go live to look at what happened to the Seven Sisters overnight.
Okay, let's do it then.
Screen should be changing over now.
All right, so let's just look at it and analyze it. We go find RB1, and that was the start of the E-mini. And you can circle that and everybody can see it, RB1. Okay, so what happened? Market went sideways, 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 and what time did it try to go higher?
That bar right there occurred on my cursor, 2200 Eastern.
About 10 o'clock. I typically, sometime between then, I probably stay out of the market if it hadn't made a move faster, but you can see it went up, topped out, and then started declining again and got back inside the range of RB2. And if you look at RB2, it was a short bar, a little bit lower than RB1, which was it shouldn't have been that way if you were going higher, with it being lower. And then we tried to go higher again. Then RBX happened. And that's becoming, have you noticed RBX at 7 in the morning is becoming a real primary bar for the direction? Have y'all noticed that? That's typically not that way all the time, but it was definitely saying, hey, we're going lower. Then, of course, we did go lower, made our lows down at 66.11 on RB3, and now we're back inside RB3, but we're still below RB1. And what's the high of RB1?
Let's see, RB1's high was 66.73.
Yeah, so you're about 35 points off of market trying to turn positive. You think it's a buy, it's probably not, the way I look at it. Okay? That's on the E-mini. Let's look at the NASDAQ, see what it said, see if it's the same story. Now you go back to RB1. Again, tried to go higher, topped out about the same time, traded lower. RBX, I'll jump it, signal lower, and the high of RB1 is what?
$24,628.
It's about 200 points from here, it would turn positive. So again, I'd say the NASDAQ and the E-mini, which is really accounting for 500 S&P stocks and 100 NASDAQ stocks, are telling you it's not a buying market, okay? All right, now let's go to the Dow or Diamond, one of those two. Probably use the Dow since you don't pick up the night markets. Okay, you'll find RB1, same pattern. Again, the X bar, 7 to 730, said they're selling it again into the cash market. Difference being Dow is weaker than all three, if you remember the positioning. E-mini was at the low end, the NASDAQ was at the sort of the high end, and the Dow is still very bearish. That's what everybody's seeing. We're down 349 points today. All right, let's go to crude oil. This is to me the whole game, crude oil. So first, let's go find. Notice the analysis is always the same. Notice RB1. See RB1? RB1 circled RB3. RB1, right?
I circled RB1 last night, Tom. It opened up at a $98.
98. And so then we broke below RB1 and been trading down from that. Go to RB2. RB2 happened at this morning when you got that sell-off in conjunction with the index market. Crude was going higher. Crude went up and tested that high of last night. The high of last night was 98.50, 98.45, and then it started selling off again. Then X bar, that's where the X bar was where we really started accelerating the downside, and it started coming down. We went down to the low after RBX, sort of been sideways. What is that, 95.40 area? And then you get the RB3, same action, but it's hanging in the low end of it as we go into Genesis. So it's clear to me crude's got to get above about 98.75, I would say, to change the pressure, and it has to break 95.40 to put the goose indexes. Those are the two numbers I would have on crude. 98.75 to the upside and 95.40 to the downside. Okay, that's what I do crude. Let's look at gold. This is so interesting to me, what happened in gold. Again, find RB1. Sideways, and then when everybody goes to bed about 1:30 or 2 and Europe opens, they start selling it. And down we came to a low of the night off RB1. RB2 was negative. You had both RB1, RB2 negative, probably while you were sleeping. And down we went. Then we had RB3. It tries to turn around, no real turnaround, and it's still trading inside of RB3 right now for gold. Big movement happened when Europe opened. All right, look at silver. Same analysis, RB1, sideways, a big break when Europe opened. Down we went to a low, RB3 at the top end of RB3, but clearly no retracement yet. So here's what I do when I have a silver position like this. I take the high and low of silver overnight. And I'll just show you what I do. Silver, the high was 76, 675. The low was 65. Let's call it 65, about 11, 6. Above 70.55 would be about the midpoint. You start getting higher than that, and you might get a turnaround in silver. Okay? That's the number that I think you might get a turnaround if you get above that. Okay? That's in silver. All right, Treasury bond. Why don't you just look at TLT? We got a position on anchor on TLT, but you got to use bonds to give the analysis for TLT. Never mind. You got to do Jonathan, you got to use the bonds because you don't have the reference part, do you? 1, 2, and 3. And I keep my roadmap open all night because I like that information. But there's RB1, negative, negative, negative. Don't you wish we could have got out last night? Would have been king if bonds made new lows. You get to RB3, they make a new high. You start getting a recovery. So got another day to go on this, but pretty much about 114.25 basis of the futures would tell you that PLT trade we got is probably no good. The times on the chart, Rhonda, are in Eastern time. Anyway, I thought I would go through the. Do you like me going through the Seven Sisters this way? It's a little bit more time, but I think I give you a fuller analysis of just numbers. In this market, you probably need it. Okay. Before we leave the live market, why don't we put MU in there? Okay, MU, the first thing you note, it opened at 425 today, 425. RB3, or then the 8 o'clock number last night was 440. Got to have that number in there, 440. And then you got a positive reference bar, which gave you a signal to buy. Up we went, and now the market's corrected. So support for MU, somewhere between 425 and 440. It's a big support level, but that's a big stock that moved. So you wait for another setup. That's MU. All right, you mentioned Palantir. Palantir looks like it's trying to do something today. You get Palantir. Yeah, Palantir gets above that 155 area. I think you got something to talk about. 55, 55. All right, that's some stocks. Let's go back to the slides now. I wanted to do that. You got more slides, Jonathan?
I do.
All right, let's go back.
See where we were. Yeah, we're right here. Okay.
Now, last night, we saw a tremendous drop in our gold and silver hold. I got called. I had those stocks in it. So it's decision time. Now, I will tell people that when you have something as bullish as gold and silver's been, if you do this strategy, you've got to have a trigger number to take you back in when the storm passes, okay? If you go to cash. Does everybody understand that? So if I got out of SLV, which I did, I would set a stop order on SLV where I can get back in before the end of the month, okay? And that number is 7055, 7055. Always set that number, set an alert if you go to cash. If you do gold, then the number for gold, let me give it to you real quick. The number for gold would be 445. That's the number I'd get back in gold. Those are the two numbers. In other words, I'd be in cash and gold. The other alternative, if you don't want to get out, and I know a lot of people don't like to get out, is to sell covered calls. But you have to have covered calls sold on any 100 position. Well, where would you sell the strike price? Very simple. You take the ATR for silver and gold, and you want at least $1 that you're going to sell it for at the shortest time period possible if you're going to use that strategy. So if we take SLV, which SLV's ATR is $5, so I'd add $5 to the current price, and the current price of SLV is about 62. I would go find me a 67 or higher price for that. We're on gold, that's 10 points. I would go find me a price higher for GLD, since he went there first, for something $1 to $3 out if I was going to do that. Okay. That's the way I would have done it. Everybody understand that technique I'm giving you? So the first choice for me is always go to cash because I hate seeing my equity drop and I know I can get back in. The second choice, if you want to play with it, don't want to get out, make sure you got covered costs. The third thing you can do, and I think you ought to do this, is by, especially if the reference bars are negative after RB3, I would buy a put expiring in the closest time frame and then roll it out the next week if gold and silver still stay down. So I would go find me a put, and we could do that for GLD somewhere close to where it's trading when I decide to make that decision. But I would do the shortest expiration as possible. And all that is you don't want to get out for whatever reason, and you put it on to give you a sense of protection. Because nothing's more terrible to sit there and watch your equity be depleted. Y'all agree with that? Because you're lying to yourself and not recognizing what's going on. So I always try just to go to cash. I think better in cash personally, but these are some of the techniques you can do. When you experience, let me just go back. When you experience an equity loss, okay, on something that I know in your heart of hearts, you believe like I do, they're going to go higher at some time this year, it's hard to get out. But every day they just take a little piece of you and put you in a position, okay? So always when you get out on something that you really believe is going higher, like I do, set an order to go back in, okay? And there's other things you do, but those are generally some techniques. Is this helping everybody out there be taking this time and covering this kind of stuff? Because, a lot of people don't teach this. I thought I'd show it to you and say, look, don't sit there every day and watch your equity deplete. And if you can't stop it, just get the cash and set your thing and get back in when things settle. You'll think a lot better. The best feeling in the world is not looking up there at your equity and seeing it drop. Well, if you're long futures, do the same thing. You set an order, okay? You set an order, Pete, where you get back in on futures. It works the same way for futures as it does for stock. Okay. All right. So that was why I wanted you to be here and hear me, because I think this is kind of stuff you can't get anywhere else. I might as well show it to you. Okay? That's how you stop equity flow out of your account. Okay? And it helps. Okay? All right. So let's talk about the importance of VIX futures. Now, I've been telling you, as long as VIX futures are above 20, you need to be in pocket put. This morning, we took a profit in our pocket puts. So this afternoon, before the day's over, I will go back in. You will note that this pocket put is adding equity to your account every time we go back in. Have y'all noticed that? How successful our pocket puts have done? I don't have the percentage in front of me. If Jonathan had all the slides to show you, it's pretty impressive what we've done in pocket puts during this market turmoil stage. Now, below 20 is the number you're looking for. Better than loss, Peg. Profits are always better. Okay? I think it's the best gauge to watch, regardless of anything I say or anybody else says. What's that number 20? Once we get to 20, I'll come in and I'll let you know in TNT that we're there. If it happens in the middle of the night, you'll get a heads up. Anyway, I just think it's very important that you know to watch that, okay? I think that's important. Okay. Now John, are you in TNT? It seems like you're getting your information late. If you're not in TNT, you need to get in it. It's costing you a fortune. Let's talk about the best individual program at DTI. This is T-Bus Talking Trade. For years now, members have raved about the Magic 5. How about somebody that's a member of TNT type what you like about my Magic 5 every morning, where you can share it with people that's non-members, see how valuable it is. That and the pivot number. Have we been above my pivot number 6675 all day long? No, we haven't. So the Magic 5 was posted today. Okay. And I've got the Magic 5 comes out about after 5 in the morning. For some reason, I've been sleeping an extra hour. I've been coming out at 6. But it's really good. It gives you a leg up on your day. You got your pivot number, you got the stocks you ought to be looking at, and you really have what I would say is a lot of good things happening for you when that occurs. Okay. Now there it is. Notice my Magic 5, my lead stock is MU. That's at 445.55, right? And we had a nice run on it today. I also gave you a short if the QQQ dropped below 591. It's at 589. You could have bought a put this morning and made some money there. I said Palantir, if it's above 153, could be considered. And Google above 307. Anyway, that's some good stuff right there for you, okay? That's the Magic 5. Now, before we go to the next slide, how many people would like to have in TNT my list of stocks in the afternoon called the Magic 5 around RB2? You know, our track record on live trade, 90% off that reference bar. Give me a yes, okay, if you would like to have that as an add-on inside TNT. Okay, it's coming. Now, that alone should convince you ought to be in TNT. But let's just talk about MU, how I'm trading during the night market. Yeah, I would say before 10:10, that's when that list gets a little stale, 10:10 Eastern time. Now, MU during the night market has been very tremendous if you know what you're looking for, right? So I've told you over and over again that stocks open for the day at 8 o'clock. Is everybody aware of that? Okay. 8 o'clock. Now, if I know the 8 o'clock number for MU and the reference bar is higher, then I could consider buying MU at night. Everybody got that scenario? So in other words, if it goes from 8 to 8:30, I'm looking at the 6 to 6:30 reference bar, I'm higher in those numbers, then you can get in about 9 o'clock at night, okay? And you will see last night, for example, you had a breakout last night. So 8 o'clock, very important. It was 440 was the opening price at 8. Immediately it started going up. I had Wednesday on the web last night. I was long during Wednesday on the web, told people that. And then what happened? It went up last night while I was sleeping about 452. 452. That's where it went to. Now, I had several shares of it, and I made a mistake. I sold every share but 100 shares. I said, I'm going to keep this thing, okay? And because I was going to keep it, I decided to hold on to 100 shares. Well, I woke up this morning and the stock had pulled back to 440. It eventually went down to 425. I got out at break even on that last 100 share. That was greed taking over. But I'll tell you, I got in it again this morning. What price? 445. Learning what I learned last night when it hit 452, I said goodbye, out again. You got a couple trades on this MU if you pay attention. Now, is this the kind of stuff that you want? Because you don't have to buy 100 shares. Put $1,000 in this and learn the routine. It will add up with this stock. In fact, the PE of this stock is somewhere around 8, where everybody else is running 22. Okay? Pretty good stuff. Now, I have no plans right now of raising the price for my TNT program. I've spent a lot of money programming this Magic 5 in the afternoon. And but I'm going to put it, that's subject to change. Subject to change. All right, let's go. Now, if you go in right now, you'll lock yourself in for $200 a month, btitrader.com/TNT. Now, what I would tell you is get on board. If enough people come on board, I will host a webinar entitled How to Trade Using the 8 o'clock pivot number at night. There's more than one trade there, but I'll cover that for everybody that joins sometime before the end of the month. Remind me. Okay, that's on TNT. Now, we won't start your subscription if you join right now until April 1st. That's a heck of a deal. We've still got some days to go in April. By that time, you'll be on scholarship. If you follow and listen, what you learn, can't make it any clearer what I'm trying to do for you. So there it is. So what we're going to do is take a break. We said we'd be with you 2 hours. We'll come back when we come back at 5 after 12, and we'll try our very best to go into the next phase of the day. After you protect yourself, we look for opportunities. I'll tell you where I think the opportunities are this afternoon. Put a timer up there, Jonathan. I always use that timer to tell.
Tom, you muted up there. I think might have had a misclick.
Yep, you muted yourself, D-Buzz.
Oh, I always like that timer because it sort of tells me how much time I got.
I could use a little extra time, Tom, to get prepared for part number 2 today. What do you say, 15 minutes? Will that work for you? All right, I'm going to start the timer for 15 minutes and we'll be back.
John, if I can't see the timer,
Oh, you know what? Let me fix the screen share settings so you can see that timer, and we're good. 14 minutes. All right, we'll get going here for part 2 in just a moment. Just a reminder, the link for TNT is dtitwitter.com/TNT. If you haven't done so yet, get up, stretch your legs, get another cup of coffee. Tom will be rejoining us any moment. We'll go through part 2. And thanks for being here for an extended session of Train and Trade. Just a reminder, every Tuesday, Thursday, Tom's planning to do a 2-hour kind of mini marathon for Train and Trade. Hey, Tom.
Hey, I just sent out a video to remind people about the start. So,
Oh, great. Yeah. Well, we can give it an extra few minutes. So I see the video just got out or reached my
Yeah.
phone at least.
thanks, Kev. Hey, we're going to go to a live market first, Jonathan, when we do come back. Okay.
Okay. What do you say, about 2 minutes?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Okay, Tom, let's go to the live market there.
Okay. The first thing we're going to do is assess the S&P, and by that I mean, what is the message on the index market We haven't made a low since 8:30 this morning, 66.12, but we haven't taken off to the upside, have we? In fact, the market bounced off those lows and has hung in the lower third, I would say, of the range at 66.35. That 66.45 number seems to be the, well, it's actually 52, isn't it? 66.52 number seems to be the resistance area on the E-mini, which tells you if you're, you don't have enough information here at this time of day to tell you, hey, you ought to buy it. And you really don't have enough information to sell it. So if you can't buy or sell the indexes, what should you do with with going long or going short? What does that tell you? Stay out. That's right. Exact answer. You have to stay out and wait until the odds swing your way. And that's what the minis tell me. Now look at the NASDAQ. Let's go to the NASDAQ. Same story with the NASDAQ. It's just nothing's here. Looks to me like RB4 is setting up. We got live trading 1:30 to 2, so that might be a good time. But if you see that, a day like this, you've got to be careful. You'll chop yourself up, okay? Now let's go to crude oil. Let's go look at crude oil. Now, if you look, crude spiked up to 159. Everybody see that? Crude spiked up. I've been saying all morning, if crude could go below 95.40, I might consider a short. That to me looks like a better trade because you got the weight of crude there. It's having a lot of trouble up here, but it, every now and then it spikes. But here's the other thing that you got to be aware of. The rallies in crude or by time are lasting about 30 to 45 minutes time-wise. So, you break a reference bar, it's good for about 30 minutes. Keep that in the back of your mind too. There's a lot of selling stepping into this crude market, as it moves. You need to, So I think that's important, watching that. Let's look at USO. The USO spiked also up to a 125.03 was a $0.50 higher than it had ever been before. So it made an all-time high and it immediately pulled back that pivot number I gave you, 122. So it's sort of a stay out right now on USO, but if it broke, looks like 117.40, then it would turn south. That's the number to the downside. That's on USO. Now, yesterday, I showed people a stock that I've traded during periods like this that are pretty good. It's called Visa. Let's analyze. The high of Visa was 302, what is that, 302.80 or whatever, right?
Yeah,
so I'll look at this trade if we start breaking lower after RB4, maybe for a credit spread there, a bearish credit spread, because I think it's setting up to take out maybe that low 97. We'll see. That's Visa. All right, let's go to MU. Now, MU is at 440. Let's just call it 440, which is its pivot number. And the number for it to go higher will be above that RBY. What number is that, John? About 442.55?
442.55 is the RB frame high. Yep.
Now that might be a trade this afternoon on MU. Okay, that's MU. Now let's go to, I like this MU for maybe a trade this afternoon. Right there holding the 440 after pulling back. That's a good spot to pull back. pretty interesting. Now let's go to some of our automatic systems. Jonathan, bring up Anchor. What did Anchor say?
Let's see. So Anchor just posted the initial posting, and there you see a couple of notes there. This is going to be our first stop out trade, Tom. TLT. It had to happen sometime. It ended up happening today.
What does it say in the Anchor?
The dashboard today, if you can see that, the thresholds are 87.5 or so to the upside, 86.60 to the downside.
Yeah, so we're above our stop out point, aren't we?
Yeah, we are getting stopped out today on TLT. If you weren't, monitoring that situation, we are getting stopped out on TLT today.
Yeah. Where do we get in at?
70 cents, stopping out about 40 cents or 35 to 40 cents.
I just got out at 41 cents, just for the record.
Okay. So, limit, like I said, you got to follow the system, got to follow the process, you got to limit those
Yep.
losses.
So we stopped out of the TLT at 41 cents. Okay, that's Anchor. All right, let's look at Genesis, right? They've got a posting in Genesis, don't they?
Should have, yeah. The Genesis hour right now is forming. Let's see what Genesis says. Where's the initial posting here? Oh, right here. Here's the initial posting. So we got another indication that we're getting stopped out on TLT. Genesis says it's long today.
Okay, that's what Genesis is saying. Notice that's the only one that's saying that there's a trade, right? Everything else is out at this time. All right, let's go look at Orion.
Orion. Here's your posting on Orion. A little bit hard to see, but
I think the general thing on Orion that you walk away with is telling you to be bearish.
bearish below 587 looks like is a new
Yep.
new short. There you go.
That's Orion. And let's go back and look at Sunrise.
Sunrise. That was the picture this morning on Sunrise.
Well, it's hard to argue with that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Painted a pretty clear picture. Everything's red except for SQQQ, which is inverse to the market.
That's a first go for me in the morning. Go check Sunrise. We're good. All right, the next thing we're going to do, let's run high noon and look at the, since the general flavor is negative, let's run the high noon top 20 short, see what it says.
Understands inside the roadmap, if we go to high noon, it should have updated by now already. At the bottom left, we have a top 20 shorts here, and leverage gold is the worst performing market from this list of stocks, followed by Alaska Airlines. It sorts it by a percentage change from the monthly open. So not surprised that a leverage market is at the top there, but here's some other stocks that, just a reminder, the reason why stocks filter into this, if they're for shorts, if they're below their month open, that's criteria number 1 met. Criteria number 2 is the stock has to be below last week's range. So it has to be below the low of last week. So
How about putting the top 20 short?
yep. And so I just was mentioning that that's how stocks filter in here to begin with. Vice versa for longs. If it's above the month open, above last week's range. And then the top 20 long, top 20 short tabs, again, it's based on from the collection of stocks that filter into the main report based on a percentage change from the monthly open. Is how it filters out the top 20, long or short.
What I'm trying to look for is on the top 20 shorts, I'm trying to find something that has weekly options and something that I could do a bearish credit spread with, that's when I look at this thing about this time of day. And see, copper's a little bearish, right? Okay.
So yeah, if I launch Rapid Trade, what Rapid Trade does, it takes the top 20, it filters out stocks that don't have weekly options, and then it finds something trading below Monday's low. So if I go to launch Rapid Trade, let's see if Rapid Trade has anything. Well, Nugget must have weekly options. So it just takes the top choice, the first choice it comes to that has stocks from the top 20 that offer weekly options and is actively trading below Monday's low. All right.
All right, let's go look at Nugget on a chart.
Okay, should be able to double click. Let's see, take that off. No symbol link. Double click on Nugget. Of course, it's got to, then we go to our reference bar approach. It's got to start having some low lows on reference bars enter a new position.
Was that about 145? Is that low of that RB3?
Yeah.
I'd put an alert down there, John. If it breaks that, probably got a trade. But while you're looking for opportunities in the market, you keep it in mind. You keep in mind, hey, why not look for opportunities that fit the criteria of the DTI approach? Because the odds will be in your favor if they set up. Always, always, always write this down. Go to the compass chart and look at these reference bars. Even though it's in the high noon scanner, it might already went to this low and is retracing, so you can see where it adds in the pattern, so to speak. Okay, but clearly that's interesting. Okay, you lay it out that way. Yeah, Peg said Nugget was on that list yesterday, highlighted. It was short.
Was short yesterday. We're
Yeah.
good with it.
Pretty timely.
Yeah.
All right, I want to look at some of the stocks that you would typically think would be something you need to be long. Look at Chevron. Just put dailies up on them.
DBX.
201. I thought Chevron went higher. I thought it was like,
Sorry about that. Hang on. What's that, Tom?
I thought Chevron actually went up like 214. Not today. I'm talking about when that first start. Thought I saw 214. Maybe I read it wrong. Put RTX in there.
Raytheon.
That's where I got the 214. See that 214, Jonathan? Been selling off ever since pretty much the war started. Look at that. 199. Look at Lockheed Martin. Not the pattern you'd think you'd see in defense stocks right now, is it? All right, so my looking at the market this time of day, it pretty much the only thing that has a possibility of everything I've looked at would be Micron or Palantir, but they're not ready just yet. I'd wait a little bit on those. But I'm just saying those are only two I see that give me a possibility. And Visa would be a possibility. But again, I'd wait to RB4 trying to put odds in it. I would tell you crude below 95.40, I'd probably do something there. Those are four opportunities that I'd look at for this afternoon. And again, I think that's pretty, that's pretty, you got such a small sampling right now of where to go because of the way the market's behaving. That's why I'm telling everybody to be really careful, okay? And you know that by the VIX being above 20, correct? Everybody got that? Okay. Any questions about what I covered live? All right, the next phase, we're going to play beat the box. You tell us what you want us to look at. Just type your signal in there. What we made on the pocket put, Peg? 5 in a row there on the pocket puts? That's pretty good. That's over 100% on those. Jonathan, you take it and load it, and I'll make comments to what you say.
All right, so the first one we got here is a ticker symbol CTRA, and I'm going to toggle it to daily charts when we're doing this, Tom, unless you want to look at 30.
Daily's fine.
There's a daily on CTRA.
Now, you might describe what they do too.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but this is Coterra Energy, oil and gas company. Focus on exploration, development, production of oil, nat gas, and liquids. CTRA. Market cap was 26 bill. All right, let's see. Next one on the list that came through was one I've never seen before. What is FIGS? FIGS. This is a $14 stock. I'll just warn you up front. Anything less than $20, you're probably not going to get much of an opinion from Tom. This is direct-to-consumer healthcare from a Canadian company. All right, Coinbase, COIN. I guess I'm playing beat the box with you. You know, everybody knows what Coinbase is. Coinbase is Bitcoin. And at least in my opinion, you really got to have some feel good momentum come back into the market for Bitcoin to start performing better. There's so much fear out there. People are not looking to risk their money. The media says risk on, risk off. You know, you can call it whatever you want, but not there yet for Bitcoin. What's next? AMD. Everybody knows what AMD is as well. Little sister to NVIDIA. Holding up pretty good.
Sort of sideways.
Oops. I meant to type in GE and I got the spinoff GEV. Let me get Actual GE in there. There's a chart of GE. Not looking too good. Not looking too hot.
What is that one?
General Electric, GE.
Wow. That's a credit spread if I ever seen one. I'm writing it down right now. All right. This is opportunity. Opportunities can come from anywhere. You know what to do with it and listen.
Next up is LASR.
Laser.
Company
What do
called
they do?
now Enlight. I think they changed their name. They develop and manufacture semiconductor and fiber lasers for aerospace and defense.
Nice uptrend going. If it takes out that 71 area, it might be a play. Okay.
Pretty sure this used to be called Laser, but they changed their they changed their name at some point to Enlight. Enlight Inc. All right, next up is HL. And that should be Hecla Mining.
Wouldn't be in it right now.
Week open on that is 1973.
If I got out of it and was still in it, I'd get out back in at 2055.
2055. Next up is Supermicro Conductors, SMCI.
Wow. That's pretty sideways to me.
Yep. We covered AMD. Let's cover NVIDIA.
Now, the low I gave everybody, 174, is still in play. NVIDIA is a stock that for the market, if the market rallies, this stock's going to rally. So it's one of the few stocks I would consider buying sometimes on the dip at the right time. First of the month, above the 3-day high, that kind of stuff, above the monthly open. But right now, I'd keep my powder dry because I think that we got to get some more odds in our favor.
Next up is VST. Vistra Corp. This is kind of like storage, AI system storage type thing. Loss of it's been a good stock. It's been a good stock. It's on a little downturn right now. Bigger picture though. I'll switch over to a weekly. This one and VRT as well has been a good one. Vertex, I think the actual name of that company. Or Vertiv, excuse me, not Vertex.
Put
Vertiv.
XLU in there, picture good. If we could see how it's doing during this time of turmoil.
Data centers, couldn't think of that word. Data center storage is what that is. XLU, okay, utilities.
Yeah, it's hanging. That's what you expect it to do. It's hanging.
All right. Speaking of Bitcoin, here's IBIT. Going to be performing just like or very similar to.
Yeah, this is very close to breaking out, in my opinion. I think that this would be a good stock, maybe above 45 that we're going to look at.
Okay, IBIT 45. Switching over to copper, very similar to gold and silver.
It's down here at support, but you've got a situation going on in the metals right now. If you go through all the metal stocks, everything, they're going to need a little time to digest what just happened.
Everybody's favorite place to shop for groceries, Costco.
Sort of sideways up here across the top, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Put MU back in there. I want to show, put MU back in. I've been sort of made it my teaching topic today, but do a 30-minute on MU.
30-minute on Micron. Okay.
All right. 440 was last night's, 440 was last night's opening. It's at 443. RBY, what's the high of RBY?
442.5 looks like.
Yeah, so this stock is setting up to make another challenge of those highs. And you know where you're wrong. You're wrong below that low of RBY. I know somebody was in it. Right now it's going to come back up again, run into resistance first at 445, then at 450. And this is a stock that once it starts, it moves pretty good and typically lasts a couple, 30 minutes to an hour and a half when it does that. And then let's go back to crude oil. I want to show you how time, I do a lot of stuff, folks. I don't teach because it's just, I do it when I'm face to face with people. But remember, what was the time limit? I said the rallies in crude were lasting. That was a very important time I gave you. I've been following it on today. It's lasted about 30 minutes to 40 minutes. And look what happened. Pretty interesting, isn't it, how that thing follows that time cycle. I just think it's interesting. Hope you do. All right, take a few more, Jonathan.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. PARR. Remember that stock back in COVID times. PARR, don't they offer checkout solutions at restaurants, that sort of thing?
I don't know, John. If you got a better memory than mine, I never traded it, I don't think.
The stock's still doing good.
Yeah, no kidding.
I might be thinking of a different ticker, so though that might have just been PAR. PARR is energy, so I'm thinking of something completely different. This is energy, renewable, conventional fuels. Go to the chart though, as long as crude's doing good.
Let's look at a commodity stock. DBA is one I always looked at, DBA. Yeah, I think you're going to see higher commodity prices. So DBA might be something you want to look at. Kevin, one of my favorite guys, always is very helpful here. Put AGQ in there. We'll look at AGQ.
AGQ.
It's part of that silver gold sector right now, hands off. There'll be a time, just be patient. Okay. And by the way, Peg, you're right. This dump off in metal sets up the next big rally. So after the pain and suffering, it gets a lot better. All right, if you go back to MU real quick, you'll see us now picked up another $1. I love this. Anyway, I had to keep bringing it up because a lot of the bigger players out there see what I'm talking about. But even if you put $1,000 on these swings, they're pretty lucrative, right, Wendy? Anyway, it adds up. Better than sitting there. All right, so our goal today was to show you how to stop the bleeding. Isn't everybody tired of looking at their equity and seeing it diminish every day? I know I am. And so that's what gave me the subject in the first hour, to show you ways to do it. I always go to cash, but I always do one thing I used to not do. I set a reentry price when I go to CAC. And so let's do that real quick, then we'll go back to the slides and finish up. So let's go, can you give me a little white sheet I can give people something to take a picture of?
Yeah, just give me a moment here. Try to get that going.
Jim, I would. That's what I did. I did it early this morning, but that's what I do. I like cash. I'm tired of watching, because you own something that's a good stock. I think it's easier to step aside and then step back in. I have no problem getting out, and I said wrong, getting back in. I guess after about 20 years of trading, I got over that. And MU's hitting at 445 now. Okay. All right. All right. First stock, MU. Today, the pivot number is 440. That's my top pick. Secondly, SLV, or there's no GLD, put GLD. GLD 445. I wouldn't touch it till I got above 445. Now you can do some credit spreads on the right thing. That's a good level that it has to get above that before you start getting a whole bunch of buying in there. SLV 7055. Okay. Let's put a QQQ place in there. QQQ today for what is it? 594 is where things would lighten up to the short side. Just above that. Let's put USO in there. The pivot number is 122. If it breaks 117.40, it's a short. Okay, crude, I'll give you crude futures, 95.40. I think I would, if I had a negative reference for, I'd probably short it, 95.40. I think Palantir 155.55 is my number there. Palantir, NVIDIA, it had to get above 82.55 to consider going long. Those are pivot numbers. You put Google there above 309.55, I'd consider going long. Bob, Airbnb, I wouldn't be in it right now. I would wait on Airbnb. I'd stay out. Does everybody think they learned something today? Do you feel a little bit better if you cut some of this stuff? You ought to take a picture of this slide. I think, John, we probably ought to update this slide every day for people. Okay? Just to sort of give them the current thing at Train and Trade.
Yeah, I'll add this as a tab to the FTD sheet. Be a little bit easier to keep track of for everybody.
Yeah, Visa. I've got that one. Put 302.55 as the upside pivot. 302.55. I'll probably get in that trade today in live trading. Okay. All right, there's the list. We won't go any bigger than that, but let's go back to our slide presentation.
Okay.
I'll go through these slides real quick. We kind of did this live, but I'll just cycle through them. Earlier in the week, we talked about it twice, the automated systems at DTI that analyze the market for you as the 24-hour trade day goes along. Let's review what each has said today. So it starts with Sunrise. That's bright and early in the morning. Actually, not quite bright and early as TNT, but this is our first automated system. And that's what it painted this morning about 8 a.m. Eastern time, painting a pretty clear picture for you.
I don't know how people can trade without it, honest. I don't. It's just too hard to keep up with all this stuff these days. And, having this automated analysis is like me sitting there with you. This is what I'd be doing. These are good numbers.
Yeah, if you're part of TNT, you knew that Tom's pivot today was at 66.75.
Haven't been above it.
You're getting in, you see Sunrise come up. It says
People tell me knowing that pivot number early in the morning, Jonathan, helps them plan their day.
well,
Pretty accurate, I think.
good. It's very accurate. Very accurate. Definitely help you keep you on the right side, keep you thinking on the right side of the market there. So that was Sunrise. Chuck said when he gives this update, all right, market has already moved below the low of RBX and below the open of the week. We have a new low of the week from during the overnight session down to 66.45. None of that screams buy the market. That's all saying caution, caution, caution.
Yep. That's great. Chuck monitors that in the morning. That's good.
I'm just going to briefly post these links if you want to get involved with these automated systems. And we'll move on to the next one.
Okay.
Genesis, of course, just formed. Every day we're scanning the market to find a breakout, a continuation day up or a continuation day down. We're not getting an up market today. Will we have a continuation down is the question. 66.11 is the low of the day on the S&P. That's what we had to see below that.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how you can trade without Genesis. I've been doing this 40 years. It's a go-to. I keep a whole screen with my Genesis algo there and watch it. It's just amazing what we put together here.
Yeah, the Genesis Insight is an amazing insight. And just a reminder, 4 out of 5 days, usually the Genesis hour, the hour we're forming right now, will mark the high or the low. So if we're trading near the lows as we enter into Genesis after the European markets close down, then typically the market, not saying it will reverse back up, but the momentum typically tends to stall. We've seen that a lot lately. Now, yesterday was a little bit of a different pattern. Yesterday, we had some follow through to the downside on reference bar 4. So we'll be watching for that this afternoon. Tom at live trading as I look at the clock, that's coming up quicker than sooner rather than later, about 35 minutes before we get to live trading. So we're watching. Again, most days you won't see a continuation in either direction, but given what happened yesterday, we had a continuation lower. We're on alert for that this afternoon.
Yeah, and just in that continuation or market low or market high, as you put Genesis with the 9:30 to 10 time frame, and it really, like today's a sideways action, okay? And it's forming right now.
Of course, all of these will signal trade signals as they happen during the trade day, right inside the Telegram channel. If you don't get Genesis, it's dtisware.com/Genesis. Next one is probably your favorite, Tom, called Orion.
Oh, yeah. Y'all saw what it said, right? Yeah. Hey, if you didn't see Sunrise, get short right at the high of the day. I love it the way that thing hits the timing.
And it gives you a little dashboard that says which side should be, what's your market bias that you should be looking at today. It said bearish. And I mentioned earlier, the low reference level on Orion is 587 QQQ. So if the QQQ falls below 587 as we go into the afternoon session today, it's going to be setting up for an extended continuation. There's a closer look, a little bit blurry, but if you were in the Telegram channel, it's easier to see. All right. It signals a short that looks like that. If it happens today, it'll look something like this. And the average return on these is somewhere between 25 and 30%.
Got a high accuracy rate, low risk, and it will hit these turns that you're missing because you can't keep up with it. Orion is, you said it. I love it.
And let me post a link for that one.
That's a lifetime there, okay? You know, you can't give somebody sugar every day and then take sugar away. That's only make it a lifetime.
And don't forget about anchor trades. Don't forget about anchor trades. Anchor
Do
trades,
what?
and don't forget about anchor trades. It's really designed for everyone. Even a small account holder can trade this. It's very low dollar amount of risk, and it's a very high accurate trade. I know today's we got stopped out, but it's very high accurate trade. First one that I've seen.
No better time to get in based on that track record.
Yeah, right. So accuracy about 80%. Anchor trades. We don't let the entire trade get wiped out, and that's why we stopped ourselves out today. They really are extremely easy to understand.
And for small accounts trying to build your account, it's not day trades that we do in here. It basically puts you in for 2-day max, and you can rotate that money over and over again. Pretty soon you don't have a small account anymore.
That's the goal. There are Telegram searches 24 hours a day looking for those anchor trades. Looks something like that. That was from a different day. This is what a trade alert would look like. All takes place in Telegram. The link to join is dtextra.com/anchor. Now we don't have time for a stream today because we've got to head over to live trading with T-Buzz. But earlier we spoke about TNT. And let me just go through that briefly. TNT program. Reminder of what we saw today inside TNT. All right. So the day starts in TNT. Tom gives a snapshot. Now, give you understand what's happening overnight. At this time of day, it was about 5 a.m. in the morning. We were trading right at Tom's pivot, 67 or 66.76. Then you saw earlier from sunrise, it was down at 66.55. So we started to follow the numbers there. We started to roll over in the markets here around the sunrise time. So Tom gives a snapshot of what happened overnight. You see some weakness in gold and silver, definitely. You get your Magic 5. All right. Nice little 10-point move in Micron above 455. I think that Palantir moved a couple points above its high. QQQ fell at least 5 points, if I remember correctly, below its low. So quick trades, but great trades here from the Magic 5. The pivot, keeping you thinking long if we're above it, thinking short if we're below it.
Okay, if you look there, we're trading 66.30, and I gave you a pivot. That's a daily pivot, by the way. If I gave you that pivot, would you be trying to, in general, there's always exceptions like at MU, but you're generally not going to be trying to buy things off, especially if you'll learn that pivot number is just pretty outstanding. Pretty outstanding. And you get it early in the morning to plan your day. If I posted in here, usually about 5 to 6.
That's what it looked like this morning. Whenever you woke up, I drew a line right at Tom's pivot today. And you got to ask the question, how valuable is that pivot to you and your trading each and every day?
The reason I bring it up, people will come to me face to face, Tom, I start every day with that daily pivot. How do you know that stuff? I show them how to get it, but I guess they still like to verify how they get it versus me. But the point is, I can't trade without that pivot number. If anybody here agree with that pivot number? You're using it in your trading and saving your money? Frank says, absolutely, count me in. Okay.
Tom gives his upside number and downside number. If the market really starts to get going, where are we going to find resistance? Where should we find support? Today, the numbers were 6,700 and 6,575.
That was what I forecasted would be the resistance and support numbers for today. Hadn't been up to 6,700, hadn't been down to 6,575 yet.
Right. Get a continuation lower, you know where our target is on the
Yep,
S&P.
that's where our target is. We end up going short. Okay.
Some trending news, what other people are saying around the world, trending analysis and trending news.
And this is pretty good. If you look at it, is that you see what Wall Street is saying something. And down there, you see Micron just blew out their estimates by the dip. I hadn't read it, but it told me Micron was obviously under the microscope this morning for people. I like to see it if I'm trading it to be in one of those top 10 trending moves. Because I'm getting there first. So I posted. Trade tickets. People rave about the way we post the trade tickets in there. You can see all the pocket puts, been a lot of profit. Jonathan, if somebody put up $1,000 on the pocket puts that we did with our subscription, how many, how much money would they have made if they put up $1,000 every time we did a pocket put? I'm just curious. How much? Got 5 trades?
Yeah, I would say the trades, we've had a wide variety of returns. They've been anywhere between 5% and 45%. So if you want
So
to
at least 100% off 1,000 would be $1,000. $1,000 would pay for what, 5 months? That's the way I think about things. Education, is it worth the money you put out? I make sure that if you buy anything from me, I talk to you, I make sure that you're getting your money's worth, because really this is a wholesale price for what you get in here. Anybody that's been in it will tell you that, because it is so handy to be able to post things as the day unfolds, or the night unfolds sometimes. Now, this is what I find so valuable to me. I've been doing this for going on about 2 hours. I have Chuck post the current reference bars in here that I can compare the numbers and see early trends of things that are moving in the right direction. Okay. For example, if I look at RB3 this morning and I look at crude oil, I'm very interested in getting short, obviously, I keep coming back to it. 97.22, 96.57 open, 95.65. That 95.40 number, I've had it all day waiting on an alert. Okay. That's how that works. Jonathan, if this didn't convince people to join, we can't do it. Join today. You get the rest of the month of March free. April starts. Get in there, because after 2 today, there will be a posting. After 2 today, there'll be a posting, and I think you'll be happy about that. There it is, called 904-706-3532. Thank you very much. Time to get back to trading. Jim says every day it's worth more than $200 a day. Thank you, Jim. Maybe we ought to keep the existing people at the same price with all these things. We're going to talk about